So, my name is Dr. Howard Chusid, and I am giving a talk today concerning an article that I co-authored about a year or two ago on ditch these 5 things today to instantly improve your life. Now, we all have problems with our lives, and many of our patients have problems with our lives. Is there an easy way of getting around it? No. Is there maybe a way that we can help them without it being difficult for them, without using 10-letter words, without saying they have to go running for 9 miles a day, without saying they have to do all these esoteric things that we know in advance that they're not going to do? Almost like when we give medications to patients, although we don't give it, but the doctor does, knowing in advance that the patient's not going to take it. So what's the point of giving it to them if they're not going to take it? So conceptually, the idea is to come up with something simple, relatively simple, that someone can accomplish. Why do we want them to accomplish something? Because the biggest problem many of our patients have is being successful. Has nothing to do with the argument, with the kids, with any, they just want to be successful in what they do. And many of them have never been successful. So success is, here's a goal, and if you can attain that goal, you're successful. And we all know how great we feel when we're successful, especially children, more so children. Unfortunately, many times our parents are not successful, and they kind of imprint that on our kids, and that's not good. But if we imprint positive, success-oriented things, whatever there may be, on our children, we're going to have a better life, a better kid, and everybody's future is going to get better. So let's start out with an easy one, which is poor eating habits. Now, my daughter is a nutritionist, dietitian, and a diabetic educator. And I don't know if you've heard it, but she screams at me quite a bit from California. And essentially, Dad, you got to eat the right thing. Dad, you're not eating good. Dad, you're not doing this. Dad, you're not doing that. Probably she's right. You're not eating enough vegetables. You're not eating enough fruit. What did you eat for dinner? What did Mommy make you? All the different things. She's not wrong. She's absolutely right. For our children, it goes the same way. If we have crap in the house, that's what our kids are going to eat. Why would I expect my kids to be different than I am? So what does it really involve? Not buying foods that we don't want not only our children to eat, that we shouldn't be eating either. And as easy as that is to say, it's obviously a whole lot more difficult to deal with. And there are so many reasons for people who get fat, for people who can't stop eating, for people who are obese, for people who are immensely obese, I forgot the word.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but there are tons of reasons, including stress. So if we can limit some of those things, we're making their lives better. So what do we have here? Poor nutrition isn't just bad for your physical health, it's also been linked to depression, anxiety, impaired cognition. We know that. We absolutely know that. You know, we grew up, well, some of us in the room grew up remembering that carrots were good for our eyes. That's how we grew up. And eat your vegetables. Bottom line is, there's a reason for that. You know, just because they're old ideas doesn't mean that they don't work. They still work. Carrots are still good for our eyes. Carotene is wonderful. You know, there is still any one of a number of things that we need to look at. Diabetics. How many times do we meet diabetics who are eating chocolate and their sugar is yay high, 500 plus, and you're going, but it makes no sense. Why? And they go, well, it tastes so good. I know it tastes good, but for you, it's poison. It makes no valid sense. Or you see somebody who's yay big and they have hypertension. Gee whiz, I wonder what's really going on there. Now, I will say hypertension is generally genetic. It comes in our genes. We can't really control it. Yes, but there are foods we can eat that could modify it, that could help it. There's medication that we could take that will work with it. It's getting these same people who many times have doctorates or doctors to listen. It was almost like going to the doctor ancient years, and he told you not to smoke as he has a cigarette laying on his table. And you look at it, I mean, it makes no sense. Nevertheless, it happens. Work you can't stand. Everybody in our room, I would believe, has had a job that they hated. They couldn't stand the job. It was awful. And it might not have been the job itself that was awful. It was the atmosphere. It was the people. It was anyone. It was the location. They were on the 90th floor and it was trekking up getting there. You know, the elevator usually didn't work. I mean, in a job that you can't stand, you're going to come home how? Miserable. Who's that going to affect? Besides you, your wife and your children. And everybody around you. You know, you throw the rock into the water and all the ripples. That's exactly it. So, is it easy to get another job? Our times today are not easy. Our times for everyone are absolutely not easy. However, if you really don't like what you're doing, let's make a plan to find something that you enjoy doing. Now, you may not get the job tomorrow. You may not have an idea until tomorrow. But if you can come up with some ideas, we can brainstorm and maybe get you to the right path. There are any one of a number of assessments that we can give people that will help us, help them kind of focus in on more of what they want to do. By the way, the assessments work. Just got to take them. And now they're all on the computer. So you don't even have to grade them anymore. You just look at the computer, plug it in, and the result comes back to you. So it's that easy to do. Negative thinking. Wow. Negative thinking. I think that's something we all do. Negative thinking is something, believe it or not, we get from our parents. Again, it's genetic. If we live in a household that keeps looking at us from you're not good, you're not going to make it, it's not going to work, no, you can't go, no, you won't be good, why do I expect you to be better? Why do I expect you to be better with your child when that time comes? And what are we doing to that kid? We're absolutely putting the kid down. A kid like that has no time for success because no matter what he does, he's not going to be successful. We've all heard the story of the kid who comes home with the B+, which is a great grade. Parent goes, why didn't you get an A? But I worked super hard for this. I was studying day and night. This is great. But I wanted an A. That's not what we should be doing to our children. By no means. Body language, when somebody says something we don't like, we fetch. We look askance, we look down. We do this with our spouses all the time. Do that with the kids all the time. You know, Mom, I want to read this book. Maybe not the right book for you to read. Or I want to go to this movie. Well, I don't know if I want you to go to this movie. Mom, I want to be an airplane pilot. That's a good job. I think I really like that. Flying in the air? Do you know how many crashes you can have in the air? You know what could be? And you're flying so high? Aren't you afraid? We say the wrong things to people, to our children, to our spouses, to everyone. What do we do when we come up with a problem? How should we handle it? Now, meditation is wonderful. But bottom line is, when the problem is facing us, most of us don't think, hold it, stop, problem needs to stop, don't go anywhere. Give me a few minutes and I need to meditate on it. That's not going to happen. That doesn't even make sense. So what we need to do is come up with some responses that will give us an opportunity to think, to deal with it. One response is basically, you know what, I'm not going to meditate, just give me a minute or two. Let me give it some thought. Let the other person see you in thought. Being in thought is a learned behavior. It's not something that somebody just does. And you know, all our children and our spouses see us when we're giving it some thought. They see our eyes. They see something's going on in our head. And you know, when we're kind of looking whimsical or quizzical or any of those things. So the whole idea is allowing your children to watch you do it. It's a learning moment. Don't make a quick decision. Don't do something, because the quicker you do something, the more it may be wrong. Give it some thought. So one of the things in business I could tell you is that in business, every time I said yes, it always cost me money. Yes is a money word. No may not cost me any money. However, I may regret saying no. The best line is, let me consider it. Those things do work. When we're dealing with people, the word no is a strike down word. If I say no to you, it's finished. No, don't eat that chicken. No, don't eat those pickles. No, don't eat that. As soon as you hear the word no, no becomes like, it closes you off. Okay, so no still closes you off. However, instead of using the word no, why not say however? What does however do? I still don't want you to do it. In theory, it's still no, but I'm not saying the word no. I'm saying, however, let me consider it. However, give me a chance to review it. However, you may have some valid points. However, doesn't close you off. And however, doesn't shut down the other person. If I'm teaching a class of kids, and I go to them, who's the president? Who was George Washington? I know. Okay, who was George Washington? He was the first, okay? Now, I could have said no. Why would I want to say no? He's right, he was the first. Somebody help me out now. Help Fred out. Okay? He was the first what? He was the first secretary, he was the first vice president, he was the first what? What did I just do? If I closed that first person down, that first kid down, he's never gonna put his hand up in my class again. Okay? He's never gonna do any of those things. What I did is I gave him some humility. I gave him a chance to be heard, and I didn't say he was wrong. So that's for kids. Let's see what else we have here. We have here, excess clutter. Anyone with ADD, anyone with ADHD knows that we have a hard time, and I have ADD, ADHD. We have a hard time organizing. It just is. And I like my things in a certain spot. So when it gets moved from that spot, not easy for me. You know, it's like, it was there. I put it there. Why isn't it there now? Where is it? The rooms aren't clean. When I walk into a kid's room and I see it like, you know, that's very hard. So what do I recommend for parents? Help them clean the room. It's not an exercise in you doing it. It is an exercise in assisting them to do it. Okay, you want your pants here? No problem. Let's put your pants here. You want your socks in this drawer? Fine. It doesn't really make a difference to you where the pants and the socks are as long as they're put away. And the truth is, as long as he or she is doing it, you've accomplished your goal. How they are later on in life, we're not worrying about. We're worrying about the here and now. Let's get a basis for putting things away and organizing things. The mother or the father who picks up their stuff for the kids, we're not doing any good for the kids. We're enabling the kids to do nothing. You know, why do I have to do it? Mom and dad are going to do it for me so I can be a freaking slob, which is essentially what I'm doing, and who cares? And in our business of counseling, we hear and see a whole lot of that. Toxic people, there are a lot of toxic people in the world. How do I define someone who's toxic? Could be someone who doesn't get along with you. Could be someone who's so totally negative and you're positive. It could be a spouse, unfortunately. It's just not working out. If it's children, we need to work with them. You can't get rid of your kids. We can redirect our kids. We can redefine what they're doing, but you can't get rid of them. Spouses, unfortunately, you have to be able to say it's not working out. And as someone who does divorces, I do family mediation and collaborative divorce and parenting, you have to be able to say, you know, it's not, you can even say, I love you, but I just can't live with you. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's okay. Now, the bottom on the divorce thing is this. If you're dealing with two parents, the biggest problem we know is communications. Sorry if I'm a little bit long. The biggest problem is so cut me short. The biggest problem is communication, okay? And if we communicate to our spouses, even though we're divorced, in a not respectful way, disrespectful way, our children hear that and they will do exactly the same things. So I'm going to just leave you with one thing. Our children, even if the 1 or 2 year olds, are way smarter than we are. We need to learn that. You know, we think we're adults and we're 40 and 50 and 60 and 20 and whatever, and we're so smart. They got us beat 9 ways out of 10. They know exactly what to do and how to get in to anyone. So the bottom line is speak respectfully. They will hear and they know about it. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Howie. Does anybody have any questions for Howie before we go on to?
Or any answers?
Yeah, I haven't answered another question.
I answered,
Okay.
great answer.
I just want to mention something shockingly amazing. Probably a lot of people have heard of Rabbi Shalom Arush. So he doesn't have negative thoughts. I mean, like, nobody can do this, but he has no negative thoughts. In other words, what he did was he worked really, really hard on it. Like, people can get to very high levels if they really say, I'm going to do this even though it's impossible. And he does his photojuice for like an hour. Everything bad can come out, all the negative, and then the rest of the time, no negative thoughts.
Define Hispoditus for everybody.
One more time.
Define Hispoditus for everybody.
Oh, okay. Talking with God.
Or he'll go into a forest, or he'll go into an area to speak with God, just him and God. My son's a person. So,
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, he knows him
So
well.
that's all his negative
Yes.
stuff is right then for that hour,
Right.
and then the rest of the time, zero negative thoughts. I mean, it's not 100% because, like, unfortunately, like, he heard about a child of his dying. In that moment, you know, or for however long, that's not going to be counted as, that's not normal, though. But normally, he just doesn't think negative thoughts.
Baal Shem Tov did that too.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Baal Shem Tov, yeah, that's where they first got it from. And Reb Nachman of Breslov did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a whole bunch of guys who went into the forest and did their thing. Which is
Really,
really
the negative thoughts.
Yeah, it's eliminate everything, so when they come out, it's all good. One more thing, Reb Zelig Pliskin, who I'm
yeah.
sure okay, so what
Yeah.
Reb Zelig does is he has a mirror in his vestibule of his house. So as he is walking out the door, he looks in the mirror and practices smiling. So he should know that when he goes out and smiles at someone, exactly what it should look like. You know what? He's got a lot of valid points on that one.